the dryer on?
No. All right. Hi guys. Hi everyone. Today I'm just I'm excited. I want to watch some reviews on Starfield. The embargo was just lifted at noon today. I'm making sure I have everything set up here for me to be able to see. Hold on. Just give me a second. These lights are a little too bright. So we're going to adjust that too. Sorry, live chat is unavailable. Why is that? Why is that? Sorry, live chat is unfucking available. Hold on. Sorry, live chat is unavailable. The fuck is going on? Well, this is definitely age gated right from the beginning. It's fine. Everything's fine. Did I... Huh. Wonder what the fuck's going on with that. Oh well. Let's try one more time. I don't know. Oh, you want to know why? Public. Done.
That makes sense.
Save. Pop out chat. Now it should be good. It's good now. Live chat. Hello, everyone that is not joining us today. We're watching reviews on Starfield, and we're taking. We're just gonna get the reactions of it. I watched a video on some information about Starfield. I'm very excited about the game. It's a huge game. Bethesda studio that I have been playing games by for a very long time, and I'm interested. I'm it's been a while since I've hold on, someone's at the front door, and it's the mail lady, and that's great. It's been a a studio that I'd liked for a while. I played a lot of Bethesda games, Fallout 4, Skyrim, both of those games being like an all-time favorite of mine. I'm trying to get these lights figured out real quick so it's not so bright. Can I help you with something? And it seems like that'll be good there. All right, so let's just jump into it. I have some reviews pulled right now. Dude, Luke Steffens, I don't know. I like this dude's reviews. They're very, very clear. Concise is not the word. This one is 27 minutes long. So maybe we should wait for a while to watch his videos. I don't know. That's probably the case. I should probably just wait. Let's watch some of these other ones. Digital Foundry, very good reviews. It just I believe more in like creator reviews than I do like IGN and all that kind of shit. I just feel like IGN rates everything so highly, and then the games that are like amazing games, they rate low. Come on, hurry up, get your fucking ass in here. So we're just gonna check them out. All right, let's get into it. Digital Foundry.
Expectations are enormous for Bethesda's latest title, Starfield. It promises a galaxy...
This audio is going to suck. Guys, bear with me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this, but I'm also going to turn down my audio unless I have something to say. How's that? This is why you need the Stream Deck. Okay, I'm going to do that. So let's pull this over here because I'm going to need to get that more. Hold on. God damn, this is so... I can still see chat. I can... All right. Let's just get into it.
Spanning adventure with a wealth of content and hundreds of planets to explore. Few games come anywhere near this kind of scope, and fewer still come with the high level of content quality and gameplay flexibility that Bethesda typically offers. But that's not to say there
This is a
haven't been
problem.
concerns. Top of mind are technical worries.
There's like an auto dim feature on this new monitor of mine, and it fucking sucks because I would really like to tell you guys exactly what I'm seeing. I also noticed that this volume, my audio level is high. Oh, I don't want to put headphones on. Oh well, let's just do this. I'm just gonna fucking do it because I really don't know how to react if I
With
can't.
prospective players perturbed by the potential for bugs and frame rate hiccups. Bethesda's
The combat looks
prior
really good. I've seen
processors
some...
haven't always arrived in stable form, and those games were orders of magnitude smaller than Starfield. So today we're taking a first look at Starfield, evaluating its basic technical makeup on Xbox Series X and S, with a more in-depth look at its graphics technology, arriving in the coming days from John, alongside Alex's review of the PC release. So can...
What? Holy shit, that's terrible. It's not great on both. Although it is 4 times zoom, so it should be fine. You know, but that S is like, on the Series S, it looks dramatically worse. I don't know. I worry about... Do you guys remember Skyrim? I don't know if any of you guys have played Skyrim. I guess if you're here, you're probably you're like the same type of person I am. But you played Skyrim and like you heard about how beautiful the game was. But then when you played it, it wasn't pretty. It was very flat. A lot of like polygons and all that. But there was updates that did fix that, and mods. Oh my god, the mods for that game. I hope there'll be a lot of mods for this. It's gonna be a while, but
Starfield hold up alright on its console platforms of choice, and how
looks
does
good,
the
I
Series
guess.
S fare relative to its more powerful sibling?
I mean, it looks really good.
Right out of the gate, the good news is that Starfield is actually a very consistent and stable experience on consoles. Across
be a
about
weak-ass
20
gun.
hours of play so far, I encountered no obvious bugs or other glaring issues, which is something I certainly couldn't have said for the launch versions
Nice,
of
I was
Fallout
worried about
4 or
that.
Skyrim. Starfield has been delayed several
Fallout
times,
4
but you get the sense that those delays
had
have
a lot of
probably been
bugs.
for the best, as the final article is a smooth experience that's worth diving into right on release. I can't speak for the entire game, of course, but I really didn't see anything that would give me pause. The graphics
I mean, I already
are
knew
excellent
that you
as
could
well,
pilot and like
with a
have
high level of
combat
detail,
flying, but...
great post-processing, and some beautiful environmental artwork.
Let me check on my co-host behind me. What are you doing?
Scratching my neck.
Do you have questions?
Um.
You can jump up in this chair if you want to get closer.
Wow. Okay. An invitation. I don't even know what what this game's even about, really, except hopping on different planets or something. So.
Yeah, none of us really know what
like
none of us really know what the fucking game's about. I mean, you're just
this seat before me.
a space pirate, not pirate. So I'm imagining if it comes from like the same developer, same studio as Fallout 4 and Skyrim. It's just you're basically a fucking traveler, space traveler, and you'll get to decide what kind of bullshit you go in between like side quests and stuff. These games are so popular because there's so much customizability. There's just a lot of ways to play individually. If you and I played this game if you and I played this game separately, we would probably have completely different outcomes. So from what I'm hearing, story based is like two people will be playing the game and somebody will be like, oh my God, did you see that part when it changed the whole game after I did that? And they're like, no, I haven't reached that. I'm like way further than you, There is no linear fashion to these games. That's the thing. There's no linear fashion. You always ask me, what level are you? There's no linear fashion. Like you can, in some of these games, you can just run all the way into these territories that have way higher levels, people above you and stuff. But we don't know about scalability of NPCs. We don't know about enemies. We don't know about anything yet. So this is, and all these reviews were launched today.
This came as a bit of a surprise, and I do think the game exceeds Bethesda's prior work by a large margin. Check out John's upcoming graphics tech review.
These are just basically walkthroughs, though. This isn't like, I can't imagine that this is what the game is going to look like, unless this is this guy's specific, like his specific his gameplay footage. It might not be his gameplay footage. You can move closer in. You're on the edge of the.
I'm on the edge.
Okay, shut the fuck up.
Help me, Mickey. Oh, I forgot there's no wheels on this.
Just if we got wheels on it, it would be higher. I don't know if you can put wheels on it.
Probably don't want wheels.
All right. So while we're doing this, just tell me what you think of the game, what this guy's saying.
I mean, I'm pretty bored so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for you.
Well, this is by no means.
I like the other game that you're playing, the samurai one. That one, like.
Yeah, that's a few years old. So this is like going to be like highest, newest, cutting edge tech graphics. You can also, as you can see already, the faces are great.
We'll see when they talk.
A bad-looking game. It's not always a stunner, but it is an accomplished effort, especially considering its incredible scope. Some significant compromises do become evident, however. The world is highly segmented and frequently interrupted by loading screens, which is a bit of a holdover from Bethesda's earlier games. I didn't exactly expect a seamless experience.
I think that'll be fixed though. The loading screens, I think that can be fixed pretty simply.
But the frequent cutaways, occasionally though not often masked by short animations, definitely annoy. On consoles, the other key concession comes down to frame rate. Both Xbox Series machines target a 30 FPS update, with no higher frame rate options available. But outside of those issues, the console versions do manage to acquit themselves quite well, with smooth, stable, and detailed graphics. Diving into both Xbox Series versions here, at a glance we're getting a very similar experience on both consoles.
So, help me understand the difference between... Is the Series S, is that like the old Xbox version?
No, these were both released at the same time. Series S was largely people thought that it was just digital version, but hardware in itself is just not, it's not the same. Wait, what the
Why does it make it look so different? Like a different jacket, different hair, different shoes. Why would they take the time to...
Well, I'm not sure how this person did it, right? I'm not sure how this person, like, did it, but, like, if you have... This could be a full... You can't get any fuller than this here, but I see 1242 here, health completely full, about the same notch taken out or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I would assume that this is the same game, the same playthrough, but that would be me assuming, and because you're a little closer here than here, so I would assume that these are two different playthroughs. So I bet you that, like, the NPC is the NPCs are dynamic. Like they'll change according to certain decisions you made, or that kind of shit.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but it looks... I'm just looking at the folds in the pants, not necessarily the jacket, but the folds in the pants are the same. The pants themselves are the same except for the design. So that's where I'm looking right here. Like, I don't know if people can see that I'm pointing this out or not. They can't. We'll go with this back leg. The back leg? Yeah, I can see it. This back leg has way more detail. Do you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's just no one cares, to be honest. Like, if they wanted to play the game and they were really excited to play the game, I would be completely fine playing it on this, and I wouldn't know any fucking different. But because I have the Series X,
The other one looked a lot more rickety, though, when it was showing the side-by-side of, like, the
zoom in?
Yeah, the zoom
rickety?
in. Yeah, it looked rickety.
More pixelated?
Yeah, that's the word.
You see the
polygons. What are you doing right now?
With even the weaker Series S looking quite good, there are some definite
looks
differences,
good.
though, when you do look closer.
It's 100%.
Draw distances on
Completely
Series
different.
S
The textures
see a
and
bit of a cutback.
Yeah.
Series X has more to offer here, with extra bits of geometric detail, like rocky outcroppings and stones that render out into the far distance. Foliage sees a bump too, with dense shrubs and knee-high grass on Series X. Larger chunks of environmental detail like big rock faces and trees render about the same across the two platforms though. So in broad strokes, the Series S and X do look quite similar. It's just the incidental details between those larger features that do look downgraded on the weaker machine.
Show me PC.
And only at ranges that are fairly distant from the player. Texture detail does typically look quite similar. In direct match ups, in the same spots at close range, I couldn't spot any obvious differences between the two platforms. Series X and S both get very detailed artwork here. At a distance, there do seem to be some differences, with Series X using better mid-maps.
Well, fine. Now let me skip this for the fucking...
hugely noticeable most of the time. Textures at oblique angles also resolve with more detail on the X, so this could just be a byproduct of the resolution differences between the games. Even the X does still look a bit blurry here.
Oh my
I did notice...
Let's not do that then.
You get the gist of it.
You know what? IGN is usually for everybody. I might get copyrighted on this one, but it should be fine.
All right, everybody, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a bumpy ride. I feel like I'm the kind of person Starfield was made for. I loved Bethesda's last single-player RPG, Fallout 4, maybe a bit too much. There's nothing I like more than a sci-fi universe with spaceships, lasers, and political intrigue flying every which way.
You have my agreement.
And yet, a dozen hours in, I was feeling lost in space. Things never went too far off course while I was flying my rinky-dink little ship around, chasing down mysterious artifacts and war criminals with a damn fine crew of companions at my side. But man, did Starfield make me work hard to get through that opening stretch.
You know, most Dusties don't even make it this far.
Even when it mostly rated the ship and I was loving the story, side quests, and launching boarding parties on enemy ships, there were still too many problems that constantly popped up, forcing me to curb my excitement. It's a bit like Starfield's own elaborate shipbuilder tool. Even though you can slap together a bunch of high-end parts and it will technically fly, sometimes it's just not the best fit.
This is fucking... IGN pisses me off. And no fucking disrespect to this Dan Stapleton dude, but like... This is essentially the same review of the fucking Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Just because you can put things together, it might not be the greatest fit. It's the same fucking shit. Heck, actually, oh God.
I'd expect no less, but Bethesda has built out a sprawling universe.
You haven't even got to see anything. What the fuck?
It reminds me of like why I didn't watch Star Wars for the longest time until I knew like that body parts were being cut off and like it actually got interesting because I don't know. I don't want to watch somebody just fly through space and I need more action than this.
Right. Haley, you have watched 1 minute and 8 seconds of a fucking review. You haven't seen shit yet.
Hasn't sucked me in.
You haven't seen shit yet. Also, I don't want you to watch me play because I'm going to be playing this for fucking hours and I don't want you around me for hours.
Universe with detailed lore. I wouldn't call it especially distinctive. It's reminiscent of universes like...
There's way more action in these games. Like, they're just going over the fucking minor shit. It's all action.
The Expanse and Firefly, and full of references to every sci-fi movie from Aliens to Blade Runner, and of course Interstellar. In fact, there's a significant similarity to what Obsidian created for 2019's The Outer Worlds. But the story of how humans abandoned Earth and colonized the stars is so densely packed in, with more around every corner, that I found it easy to get invested in.
We're all here because we're committed to exploring space.
Once I learned the difference between the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective.
The United Colonies strive to provide all their citizens with opportunity, security, and peace.
Regardless of which...
It's funny to me that you say the stupid shit that you say. Because we played that fucking cat game. And that cat game is just a cat doing cat shit. Right? And you loved it. Because it was so much
cat and
exploring and stuff like that. That's exactly what these games are.
Space.
That's
There's something about space that I'm just like...
Well, you're fucking selling it short too fast.
Well,
and I don't like it.
Well...
You're a fucking closed-minded, stupid bitch.
Which background option and starting skills you pick for your character, everyone starts out in the same mining camp and touches the same space magic that sets off a trippy 2001 A Space Odyssey style vision. But after that, Starfield is an immense game that will send you off in all kinds of different directions once it hands you the keys to your first spaceship. It's to the point where talking to others who have played alongside me has left us all bewildered.
Wait, what do you mean you don't know who the Vanguard are?
Wow, you didn't unlock that until level 20?
You met...
See, that's what I'm saying.
Your new best friend on me.
You can easily fall down all sorts of wormholes into extended chains of missions that take you on adventures that rival Skyrim's in scope. Even after about 70 hours, there are...
So all the NPCs, the thing that's so good about these games is like every person that you bump into and can talk to has a like huge backstory. And every decision that you make, people that you shoot, people that you like, side quests that you do, it all affects the outcome of your game. It'll all affect the outcome of your game. I forget which fucking... Fallout 4 I played so much. Skyrim, if you decided to side with... what the fuck were they called? The vampire people. You couldn't be in, go into these places without scaring people and stuff. Huh?
What are you doing with that pencil?
Okay.
Major quest lines I haven't even touched, and others I've left unfinished. I'm eager to go...
No one's even gotten to the combat yet. He's just, the big part that everybody likes about these things is, like, story content and the discoverability of everything.
Back and pick those up now that I've completed the main story.
You know there's more to come.
In typical Bethesda fashion, that main quest itself isn't terribly flexible in how you can resolve the situations it thrusts you into. Your options...
but you say that. You fucker. He says that they're not all that flexible. There's like 4 or 5 options. It's pretty fucking flexible for a video game.
Yeah, that could
what do you want it to do?
Ways.
I mean, one of the best games that I've ever played was Elden Ring. It had 4 endings. 4 endings? It might even been 7. I can't remember. I believe it's 4 endings. That does not specifically, like, yes, you're probably playing this game for freedom, flexibility, and, like, all that kind of stuff. But name a game that has flexibility to the main quest. There you don't.
Here are, for the most part, about picking whether you want to be a Boy Scout for whom a good deed is its own reward, a wisecracking mercenary who asks to be rewarded after doing a good deed, or an all-business mercenary who demands to be paid up front to do said good deed.
I'll say right up front that if you're looking to get rich, this ain't the line of work for you.
There are a few life and death choices, and there's a decision at the end about which philosophy to embrace before heading into the final battle.
Did this review say spoilers ahead? Because now I'm like upset that I watched this one.
But most of it is going to play out the same way because, no matter what, your goal is to solve the mystery of those artifacts alongside your secret society of explorers known as Constellation. I won't say much about where the plot goes because it's way too easy to spoil, but I did enjoy the way it probed its biggest concept in distinctive ways, and there's plenty of well-written discussion about what it all means.
Get out of here, Dusty. You're on to bigger things.
It's in the side quests that you really get to act out your character's morals and choose to resolve conflicts peacefully or just by killing and robbing innocent people. There's a storyline that felt very Boys from Brazil inspired, as well as numerous related quests about hunting down war criminals that pose ethical quandaries to reconcile.
Okay, so you're hunting down war criminals, you're fucking smuggling shit, you're doing all kinds of stuff. You can see that there's shooting people, there'd probably be some like a faction or a group or something that tortures people, you know. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, for you to sell it short,
it's
absolutely.
Just because I don't know this, like none of us know the story. That's where I'm having trouble, kind of.
Yeah, but that's why a lot of people aren't going too far into the story.
It dealt death. He can make a deal more.
You can even join up with the Crimson Fleet pirates and dive into a life of smuggling and general space crime. It seems like it would take hundreds of hours to explore them all, and there sure are a lot of options. I wouldn't say I've encountered anything just yet that's as spectacular as destroying Megaton in Fallout 3, but Starfield has its moments.
I'd be so frustrated.
There's no shortage of interesting companion characters to hang out with throughout all this. There's definitely a focus on Sarah, the virtuous leader of Constellation.
Don't think we can't find another way to get what we want.
And Sam, an angsty former lawman with a young daughter who he's always worried will see him as less than perfect. However, I was richly rewarded by taking the eccentric scientist Barrett along with me on some missions.
You're part of this now.
And
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Mass Effect. Mass Effect was a great game. Lots of companions. Taking certain companions along would give you certain rewards. You know what I mean?
I suspect the others hold a few surprises up their sleeves as well. But you can only take one with you at a time, so I have more exploration to do here as well.
We waste time. We should complete our mission and then we can talk.
It helps that Bethesda has certainly upped its facial animation game for Starfield. Sure, it's nowhere near as lifelike as motion capture performances we've seen in The Last of Us and God of War, but generally, it's expressive enough that it can do justice to the excellent voice performances.
Looking a little more murdery than usual, but let's just say they had it coming.
Starfield's problems, though, are glaring. I have to say that the early hours are pretty rough going, and there was a while there when I was wondering if the stars would ever align.
Rough going how?
It's probably going to be like just really slow, like how Harry Potter felt like it took forever to...
Gotta fly in here. Harry Potter never got fucking fun. It just seemed like a grind the whole time.
It's going to be... It's going to take a minute.
No.
And you gotta get through it.
That's up to you, though. You know what I mean? That's up to you. I don't think people know how to play these games.
Well, what happened with Harry Potter?
Harry Potter is a linear fucking game. There isn't a lot like that. Like, you can, you know. Also, if I knowing what I know now about Harry Potter, I might want to revisit it. It just wasn't that good. I didn't like it. I think it was a good game in terms of what was available at the time, other than like Elden Ring. But I really wish I would have just kept playing Elden Ring or played a second playthrough or played God of War instead of fucking Harry Potter, because it was just so slow. But I'll be down for this one. Like, you play Elden Ring, where there's really it's faster paced. But I'll just be able to sit in that chair and just chill, play the game.
Going to go through that rough patch too. But bear with me, just like Starfield itself, it does get better by the end.
That's why I keep him around. Good pep talk.
Here's the biggest fundamental problem. See this vast map of stars? It feels extremely small when each of its hundreds of explorable planets is separated by little more than a loading screen. It didn't take long for me to realize that takeoff and landing animations are...
What? How could he say those in the those two things in the same fucking sentence. That seems really weird. The hundreds of planets that you can fucking discover seem very small, being separated by little more than a loading screen. What in the fuck are you talking about?
It feels extremely small when each of its hundreds of explorable planets is separated by little more than a loading screen. It didn't take long for me to realize...
Oh, because you can't fly from one to the other? Is that what he's saying? Probably. Or you can fly, but they're just like next door to each other.
As the takeoff and landing animations are barely interactive cutscenes, they can often be bypassed by just going to the map screen and jumping to another planet without even setting foot on a ship. It's impossible not to compare Starfield's disjointed space travel to the seamlessness of No Man's Sky, and it's a bit of a letdown every single time.
Now, he brings up a very fucking good point that I would like to fucking speak about. No Man's Sky. Endless amounts of planets that you can discover, but so many fucking people had problems with that game from the beginning. People thought that the planets were just fucking dumb. It was the same animals, like it wasn't the same, So I wonder how old this guy might be. How much does he actually play? Did he play Bethesda games? You know what I mean? Like, I would be annoyed knowing what I know about Bethesda games if I couldn't just fast travel. Because after a while, who gives a fuck about flying from the one planet to the other? You're trying to finish a mission. I'm not going to try to locate it on my motherfucking map and then fly to it. That happens maybe like 5 times. They had to put that in there. You know? You probably had to discover the planet before fucking fast traveling, I would imagine.
The next nuisance that irritated me no matter where I roamed is the fact that there are no actual maps, mini or otherwise. This screen is just not helpful at all. I spent way too much time searching for basic things like vendors to sell my loot to while I tried to memorize the layout of multiple settlements.
Holy shit, that's gonna suck for me because I'm really fucking bad at that. What game am I playing now?
The samurai one.
Ghost of Tsushima. And there's a map there. There's sort of a map. No, that's not the game. That's not what I was thinking of. What did I play right before that?
Star Wars.
Yes. No, that's not it either.
I expect most people will just look up community-made maps like the ones that IGN's guide team is working on anyway. Also, like Bethesda's previous RPGs, Starfield...
That fucking guy just plugged his project.
Starfield's playtime is roughly 30% inventory management, and yet it's shockingly bad at that task. You'll constantly need to transfer loot between your inventory and your companions or to and from your ship's cargo hold. But maddeningly, you can't view both at the same time like you can in Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Modders, if you're listening, please help. Yeah. Those problems never got better during my playthrough. I just learned to live with them.
That sucks.
The hump that I did work my way over, though, is that Starfield doesn't tell you enough about how its huge collection of systems work, and it trickles out the cool stuff too slowly. Out of the gate, you can't mod your equipment, you can't use your essential boost pack, and you can barely use stealth or board enemy ships at all. You can build outposts that are a lot like Fallout 4 settlements, but it doesn't tell you that you probably shouldn't bother with them early on because you don't need huge quantities of the single...
I love it. Okay. Now, the part in Fallout 4 that I didn't really fuck with too much was settlements. I did fuck with it later on, but I found it very, very tedious. Now, other people, they loved it. It was their favorite part about Fallout 4. Building the settlements was you have to source, like, you have to get, like, resources and shit like that. So you have to find resources. You have to constantly defend it. You're in the middle of a fucking mission, and then one of your settlements is being attacked. So you have to go over there and hope to God the fucking mutants didn't...
So this is kind of what they're showing, though, right there?
Yeah.
Resource until way later. Speaking of, storage space on the first tier of ships is obnoxiously small for the amount of loot and resources you gather.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right. But this game is meant for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. This is where I think people don't understand, like, the actual, like, purpose of the game is Fallout was a game like this as well. Like, You don't have a shit ton of space for everything. I remember in Fallout 4, I believe it was, you could get this settlement that was a underground bunker. And that was like my favorite fucking settlement because it was an underground bunker and shit. And but you could only store so much in the barrels and in the fucking thing and in order to stay organized. But once you got enough resources, you could build shit and then change shit and all that kind of stuff. This game is for people that are going to spend their lives in it. You know what I mean? It's not for like it's not like Zelda where you if I don't see one fucking bless you in that comment.
Here we go.
In the chat.
You're not blessed. Unblessed.
Unblessed. Running away. Okay. Yeah.
What does look like a episode of Hoarders?
Because people are taking their stuff and they're just dropping it inside the ship because it'll always be with them. But
I resorted to silly workarounds like throwing stuff on the floor of my ship like a space hoarder.
What can I help you with?
Eventually, though, all that stuff gets resolved through upgrades and learning the ropes. It's also worth noting that the worlds you explore are generally visually different with varying gravity, but they're barren and lifeless aside from the crafted areas you visit in quests. I mean, yeah, you'd expect that from planets that are mostly untouched by intelligent beings, but that doesn't make them a lot more fun to run around.
Right.
Outside of a handful of randomly generated outposts full of enemies to raid, all there is to do is scan trees and rocks or zap them with a mine laser.
We just love rocks.
Or sometimes scan and maybe shoot alien wildlife. It's a far cry from Bethesda's previous games, where you could barely swing a dead mud crab without hitting something cool. And it took a while for me to learn that I could largely just ignore this stuff. There's one part of the main quest that's pretty repetitive too. You're sent to investigate a series of ancient structures, and it's annoying that what you do inside of each one is completely identical. The rewards are different and enticing enough for me to want to chase them all down at least. But after the first few, I couldn't help but wish that Bethesda's designers had taken some inspiration from Breath of the Wild when it came to creating different puzzles for each one.
Oh, is there going to be new puzzles?
So it wasn't until about a dozen hours in that I unlocked enough upgrades that the gameplay started to gel for me alongside the story. Starfield absolutely is one of those games that takes way too long to get to the good part. But the fact that it eventually did get its claws into me forced me to jettison all of the more like Starfield jokes I'd been workshopping out the airlock and focus more on what this sci-fi epic gets right, or at least does.
Like I said, IGN, I'm done with this fucking thing. IGN has a fucking absolute fucking like I said before this. I don't watch IGN shit all that much because it's predictable. Any game that's fucking great, they've scored it terribly. Not terribly, but way worse than it was supposed to. Any game that's fucking shit, they give it a 9 out of 10. But I think their people are just average gamers, like a fucking casuals, you know what I mean? Like somebody that's just gonna pick up a game and play it. Hell no, this game ain't gonna be for somebody that's got a job. You know what I mean? Who the fuck has 100 hours of spare time? You know what I mean? You would have to you'd have to ship your kids to boarding school and send your wife with a personal trainer where she gets everything she needs. So you know what I mean? I just don't see it. IGN is a very broad. They have a very broad audience. People that go to IGN for reviews, I don't know why I went to IGN for reviews, are people that go into GameStop and try to find games to play. You know what I mean?
I feel like I'd be the perfect candidate for an IGN.
Maybe.
Does well enough. Filed under does well enough is combat, which is the solution to most problems unless you're extremely dedicated to the idea of talking or sneaking your way past most encounters with hostile pirates, robots, or wildlife, and anything that looks at you funny. Not bad, and it's kept me happily plinking away with my tricked-out laser rifles and shotguns, but it's not especially great either. Without anything new and exciting to fill the void left by Fallout's time-stopping bat system, it's pretty standard stuff. To their credit, enemies do react in fun ways, and sometimes they'll flee if you killed off their friends. Plus, the modifiers on epic and legendary weapons and gear have some fun stuff going on that's not afraid to be game-changing. I found a rifle that does more damage as my health decreases, and makes enemies more likely to drop med packs.
Remember how he said that the game takes a long time to get to the good part?
Mm-hmm.
So does his fucking review. We are...
Yeah, we've been watching
9 minutes, 15 seconds into the review. And he's finally getting to what everybody wants to know. No one really... We'll fucking figure this shit out from the beginning. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to know about combat. Everybody wants to know about NPC interactions. You know what I mean?
I found a spacesuit that has a 10% chance to set nearby attackers on fire and made me invisible when I crouched and held still. That's kind of cool.
Good.
What do you mean? People have been playing this for 2 weeks. This
I
guy
mean,
played it for 2 weeks.
And there's a lot.
Where's the good stuff then?
This guy has giving a shit review. He's not a very good reviewer.
Well,
more of that game.
What do you mean, where's the good stuff?
Third one's gonna be
all
better.
of this shit was good. Good. This has been all his cons. And now he's getting into the fucking combat. And he, like, I hate people like this, like, because, like, his criticisms are like, I wish it wasn't a Bethesda game, but it's a Bethesda game. I wish it wasn't like Fallout 4, but it's like Fallout 4. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do? Design a whole new game?
The other side of combat is ship-to-ship battles, which are also fairly simple as space dogfighting games go. It's never not entertaining to blast away at pirates and watch the pretty explosions. There's some basic power management, but I rarely felt the need to fiddle with it in combat because most of the ships I bought or found had enough power to go around. The closest thing to VATS you get in Starfield is when you spend a skill point on target locking, which is an absolute must-have. Disabling weapons is a great way to even the odds when you're being ganged up on. But even better is when you take out their engines and board them.
Alright.
Starfield aims to be the most ambitious and complex adventure Bethesda Game Studios has ever created. With over 1,000 planets to explore, dozens...
Now, I do trust this guy's shit. I've watched almost every one of his video games, and he has a very complex review system, like protocol, that he follows.
Skeptical review.
Right. It's always a skeptical review. Everything is always a skeptical review. He ignores the hype. He ignores what other people are saying, and he just goes into it and says, yes, this is good. Yeah, this is bad.
This is going to sell me a
and
lot.
dozens of star systems and theoretically limitless areas to explore thanks to their new procedural tech, Starfield is no doubt a massive game. But does it actually shake the concerns that many of us skeptics had leading up to its launch? Namely, is it polished and bug-free? Does the procedural tech avoid the pitfalls of repetitive and reused locations? Can the creation engine...
That bug that he showed, I mean, that's every fucking game I've ever played in my life. Like, every fucking enemy. You can't do it, but every fucking enemy can... His gun goes through the wall and shoots you.
...actually provide the ambitious game a strong foundation and...
So that's what you'd have to do in Skyrim also.
Does the lack of vehicles and in-atmosphere flight harm the exploration on the planet's surfaces? Well, as always, the answer is kind of complicated. After finishing the main story, completing the faction quest lines, customizing the crap out of my ships, building multiple bases, buying apartments, experimenting in new games...
He had fun. This is what I'm going to say. He had fun. You want to know how he had fun? He said, I bought, you know what I mean? Furnished my apartments. If you didn't have fun in this game, you wouldn't do those things. You know what I mean? Yeah. You wouldn't spend the time on those things.
Well, that makes the game.
Plus, and exploring random planets at length, I'm left conflicted. I think it is the best game that Bethesda Game Studios has ever made.
Which is what they're saying is what the game's supposed to be. Best game yet.
Their best game. Their most polished game.
What's their other best game? What's their best game right now that they've ever made?
Skyrim.
And
for me.
You'd rate that out of 10.
I've played that game, I don't know, 5 playthroughs.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 5.
Hundreds of hours each. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Once with, twice with mods.
Love Skyrim.
Huh?
You did love Skyrim.
in a lot of ways. But in other ways, it feels painfully outdated, and it also feels like they've bitten off a lot more than they could be reasonably expected to chew. But before we get into details, it's crucial to understand what Starfield is and what it isn't, because I've seen online huge misrepresentations and overhyped expectations with this game. Again, this is why skepticism for any game is important, because it protects you from hype, which can lead to...
you can iron your shirt before going on game? Or...
That's the font. They wanted a nice sprinkled effect.
False expectations, and people thinking that Starfield's going to be one thing when it's actually something very, very different. While it's perhaps no surprise to some that Starfield fails to compete with its contemporary space sims like No Man's Sky, Star Citizen, and Elite Dangerous, among others, for some I think this will come as a shock. Whether that's because of vague statements by Todd Howard and other developers, or vague marketing materials, or simple overhyped expectations, it's crucial to understand that Starfield is nothing like No Man's Sky or Star Citizen. Other than being set in space and them giving you a spaceship you can walk around in between fast traveling to different locations. Rather, it plays like a much bigger version of the Outer Worlds from Obsidian. Even down to little details like the change from the cinematic camera we had with Fallout 4 to the straight-on camera that we have in Starfield, something which I personally find to be a major downgrade. Starfield is not about exploring space freely as a space pirate or mercenary. It's about fast traveling to locations and having conversations with people. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's important to understand what this game actually is. Once you go into the game with leveled expectations, I think you can have a really good time. After about 15 hours, I was convinced that this was the best game that BGS has ever made. Better than any Elder Scrolls or Fallout game, and I mean that. The gunplay is significantly improved over what we saw in the trailers. The game also seems to be fairly well optimized on PC as long as you're running with FSR2 enabled, something you have to put up with since the frames are pretty low without it, and since there's no DLSS support for some nonsensical reason. The ship customization is super cool as well, and is probably my favorite part of the entire game. Stealing enemy ships is a great way to start this process, and since reselling them turns such a tiny profit, effectively prohibiting the practice of stealing ships just for resale, I often just stole a ship and then customized the crap out of them to turn them into a massive cargo ship or a small and agile fighter or a gigantic battleship. And again, this is probably my favorite part of the game. It's really intuitive, and I can only imagine how crazy the mods are going to get.
Yeah, I can see.
The base building and settlement system is pretty cool too, though it should be noted you can only really get into it after 50 to 60 hours since it requires an insane number of resources.
50 or 60 hours, man. Like that fucking Star Wars game was like a 30-hour playthrough. Ghost of Tsushima is like an 80-hour playthrough, so I'd have to play through.
You were playing it forever too.
I'm gonna have to like be in this game for a long fucking time before I do.
So can you do something?
5 hours a day for fucking 10 days.
That's doable for you.
Right now.
And most of those resources have to be collected on barren planets where you're simply running around with your scanner pulled up looking for small basketball-sized rock deposits to extract with your mining beam. If you are excited for the base building, I just need you to understand that it is a very, very late game system, and it requires you to really grind to get the materials necessary to actually engage with it. The voice acting and writing is really, really well done on the conversational level, though I do have some strong feelings about the main story and some of the broader themes, but we'll get into that later. And perhaps the most obvious point to bring up is the sheer scale of Starfield. It is massive, and you really have to admire Bethesda's commitment to ambitious game design. I know Todd gets a lot of flack because he tends to overpromise with his games, and whether that overpromising is born out of intentional deception, aiming to sell you on a game that he knows is not what he's promising, or if it's just excitement and vague language, I'm not really sure that's the point right now. The point is that these games are gigantic, and I have no doubt that some people are going to be playing Starfield for hundreds upon hundreds of hours, and will likely still have planets and systems left unexplored after all that time. The game really is that big. However, with all of these solid elements, you have to wonder if Bethesda bit off a bit more than they could chew. Were they too ambitious? Well, unfortunately, I feel they were. The more I played Starfield, the more I saw behind the curtain and realized that much of the scope and scale of this game is nothing more than an illusion. It's less and less magical the more you engage with it, since there are many problems that grow tiring the more you play. All of this is compounded with bugs and broken quests that are mostly concentrated in the late hours of the game. It's clear that they focused their polish on the first 20 hours or so, which makes sense because that's where most players will be spending their time. Especially considering the main quest, if you just sprint and do nothing else, can be completed in around quests that are mostly concentrated in the late hours of the game. It's clear that they focused their polish on the first 20 hours or so, which makes sense because that's where most players will be spending their time. Especially considering the main quest, if you just sprint and do nothing else, can be completed in around 15 to 18 hours. Also, over half of the main story quest objectives are literally just fetch quests, where you're assigned to go collect a thing and bring it back to the lodge, which is the center of operations for the constellation. So we'll get into it more in a bit, but word of warning, if you were thinking that the main story is going to be compelling in this game, you are sorely mistaken. It's probably best to actually ignore the main story and focus on the side content, which some people will say, no duh, that's how I always play BGS games, but for other players, I just want to remind you, the main story here is pretty lackluster. But after the first 20 hours or so, many of the late stages of side quests, faction quests, and other parts of the game have numerous bugs, and one major faction questline is so broken in my first save file, I straight up can't complete the faction questline on that save. But more on that later. But it's not just bugs and weird behaviors from NPCs that bring Starfield's overall experience down the more you play. There are near constant load screens, though to be fair, they are pretty short so long as you're playing the game on a platform where it's loaded onto an SSD. Oftentimes the game feels as though it's been built with technology that's significantly behind what contemporary peers are able to pull off. The best example are these load screens, requiring the player to sit through one every time they travel between buildings, small zones within cities themselves, similar to the gated design of Fallout New Vegas or Fallout.
Damn, I'm getting disappointed and depressed. Fucking real depressed. Real depressed about this bullshit.
When's that other game come out?
It's all we're known.
Let's learn about that one.
No.
This one's not it.
Not it for you.
Yeah, because I like to watch it, and this one...
You'll like to watch it because you'll like to see you'll see the story.
Only if I see that girl melt into the floor. I trust this guy.
I don't know, man. I don't really... I mean, I trust that, but I don't know. At the same time, I don't. Extra Emily. What can we react to? Anything?
Yeah, I feel like we're done with this stream.
This video?
Mm-hmm. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, I ran out of fucking energy. Alright, y'all. Give a fuck about any of you. Fuck you.